Welcome to Bike Week Radio Show.
Powered by Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.
Bike Week Radio Show with Bobby Wooldridge, Broc Glover, and Paul Carruthers on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Good morning and welcome into Bike Week Radio Show on San Diego sports leader, the mighty 1090. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Sunday morning. I know this group in studio, we have a packed house, is already ready to go because they were fighting in the hallways. Let's Talk Hookups trying to do a show, and Broc and Paul are having a cat fight in the hallway.
It was just a friendly debate, asshole.
Oh! And that is how we start the show on a Sunday morning with an 8-second delay. Now, everyone, relax and let our 8-second delay build back up. Those who are listening online, you get the unedited version. You guys get the version that the FCC can't touch.
It was only a 3-letter word. It
wasn't.
We'll add a little letter here later on, probably.
It wasn't out of context. I mean, when referring to Paul Carruthers, it is appropriate to, let the expletives fly. But Broc Glover in studio, Paul Carruthers in studio, Scott Cox in studio, and our fifth host for the day, Davey Coombs, is in studio. Davey, good morning.
Good morning.
Davey, who?
Davey Coombs.
What is his?
Editor-in-chief, RacerX magazine. Let me see. Hold up that new.
You tell me his qualifications to be sitting in this room.
Well, look at that brand new RacerX mag.
In my hot hands, brand new, March 2015.
Don't get your prints all over. Don't greasy hands all over that beautiful copy.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, the brand new issue that even Davey himself, the publisher, the founder of the magazine, hasn't even seen it yet.
Now would be a good time for six-time champion Broc Glover to mention my 9th place finish at Daytona.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, and one-time 9th place finisher at Daytona Supercross. But it's probably amateur Supercross. Okay, but yes, welcome, Davey. Thank you for driving all the way down from Santa Monica?
No, I was in Anaheim.
Oh, good.
I stuck around after the race to try and hear as many tapestries of swear words I could hear coming out of the AMA rig because
yes,
we had some stuff last night. And,
you must be talking about the Chad Reed incident. We'll get to that a little bit more detail.
Yeah, we will.
At the Dunlop truck, this is one of the best parts. So I'll get to hear your stories. You get to hear a few of ours where the fans were out. Some of the pro-Reed and anti-Reed fans were basically heckling the ban America and Discount Tire. Don't buy products from them over the incident too. So there were some vocal people last night.
Well, let's set the scene with a little Paul Carruthers and the news.
Nobody knows the news better than Bike Week Radio Show.
This was an age when only men were allowed to read the news.
And only Bike Week Radio Show has Paul Carruthers.
See, I'm here. We can do the news now. It's all right, everyone. We can do the news. Hold on. Everyone, why are we all standing around? Let's go.
All right, let's get started on this. I think Ken Roxon...
the Del Mar short track.
Ken Roxon won the race, right? Or we don't care about that.
Oh, I don't know who got second.
There was a race?
I don't know who got third. I forget, but I know who didn't. I know who got credited for 0 points in not even 20 seconds. 22 second place. 2-2. Some guy number 2-2 finished 2-2 on the result sheet, but there's a word DQ behind him, and so.
All right. Well, let's set this up a little bit. So it's the 8th lap of the 450 main, and Trey Kennard,
who had previously got a poor start, is working his way
right.
through.
He's working his way through the field, as he's done really well the last few rounds, and I'd like to see the guy actually get a good start because I think he's capable of running Ken Roxon's speed. So anyway, he's going through a section of the track and basically loses control and ends up running into the back of Chad Reed. I mean, it's a racing move. I mean, it's not like Trey Kennard at that point is trying to crash his motorcycle into Chad Reed. It's just. I mean,
that's not exactly how I saw it. I actually saw him trying to make a move where you came out of a corner and did a little double jump and tried to jump to the very, very inside. And to me, it appeared that he wasn't expecting Reed to jump right down to the very inside line in his line. So I think Trey thought there was going to be room for him in the inside.
All right. Well, anyway, that was just a pure racing incident.
Absolutely.
So what happened after that was not a pure racing incident because they both got up. Chad Reed's obviously upset. and he basically just rode over and knocked the kid over.
Well, they took back off down the track, and they got to the first corner, which was about what? How far, Davey? 100 yards away or 75 yards away?
Probably about 200 feet.
Yeah, okay.
So you and I in the room, in the back room prior to the show, I think we agree a lot more than we think we do. I don't have a problem with...
But that doesn't make good radio.
No, I know, but believe me, it'll turn into a fight here quickly. But the thing is it's not.
By the way, for the listeners that maybe don't know, Paul was born in Australia. If you haven't heard that in the last 2.5 years, 78 times. I think there's some biasness here.
No, there's not. I'm not even talking. I'm not even. Let's
know.
take Chad Reed completely out of the position. I think what he did was a total dick move. I mean, 100%.
Can you say that on the radio?
Yeah, you can. It's Sunday morning. It's
based on what you said earlier, I think we can get away with anything.
Yeah, but we got a producer back there.
Here's my point. I'm looking at it from the penalty side of the thing and not actually the crime.
Right.
And I think if you're the AMA and you're suddenly going to grow a set of balls.
Whoa. That wasn't an AMA decision.
Okay. Whoever made the decision, if you're suddenly going to grow a set of balls, then I think...
Whose decision was it?
It was John Gallagher, the FIM official.
Yeah,
right.
So Federation International Motorcycle,
right.
The world
so anyway,
governing
let me
body.
get back to this.
You just want to say balls again.
If you're suddenly going to grow a set of balls, you have to bear the burden of carrying those balls for the rest of the year. So if you're going to throw...
Or the rest of the forever.
If you're going to throw that black flag and DQ...
Bobby, do you have that burden? Okay.
Do you want me to have my opinion, or do you just want to smart mouth off the rest of the show?
Oh, now you're really going to get it, you unknowledgeable road racing,
seriously,
street track, never thrown a leg over a motocross bike wimp.
So they throw the black flag at Chad Reed, and he's DQ'd. So what I'm saying is, if now you've set a precedent that for that particular move, that's the penalty. So if Eli Tomac does that to Ken Roczen in round 15 on the 19th lap, all I'm saying is you've set the precedent, so now that's what you have to do. As long as they're prepared to do that, I'm fine with it. I think there should be a penalty. If it was up to me, I would have some kind of penalty system where the race ends, you sit those guys down, you say you did this, and you're penalized 2 points in your little personal book like they do in MotoGP. And when you get to 4 points, this is what happens to you. When you get to 5 points, this is what happens to you. And you have some kind of system that so everyone's treated the same. I think if you're going to throw black flags for incidents like this on the track, then I just think you're going to end up maybe having 1, 2, or 3 a night.
Davey, is this the first black flag ever thrown in a Supercross race?
I don't think it is, but it's the first one in recent memory, and I have to say that, as someone who was involved in the series in motocross and Loretta Lynn's and so on and so forth, the last thing you want to do is insert yourself into a race. Usually, you kind of like to let the athletes figure it out for themselves on the track and then penalize points, positions, fines, whatever. But in 20 seconds, or however long it took Chad Reed to get around to the finish line, to throw that black flag, I thought it was insulting.
Yeah, they made a decision they made a decision right at the time when they should have made the decision after the race to do whatever the penalty was instead of just doing it right then and there, because what are you going to do the next time?
And there's context here. Obviously, Trey Kennard knocked Chad down. Did he do it intentionally? Absolutely not. But when you're in front and someone runs into the back of you, it's the person behind you's fault. If you're going down the 5,
it is down the highway.
If you're going down the 5,
I agree.
So that said, what I saw, and I saw it many times, Chad retaliated.
Absolutely.
But he ran him out of real estate. And how is that any different than what Cooper Webb did to Tyler Bowers on the last lap of the 250 race? He didn't knock him off the track. He ran him out of real estate. It was intentional. There should be a suspension, penalty, suspension of points, whatever. But to throw a black flag at that point of the race is, to me, a knee-jerk reaction.
The other thing is like, okay, we can say it's retaliation. So is instant retaliation worse than if you punch Broc in the face right now and he turns around and punches you right back? I'm okay with that more so than if you punch Broc in the face and in 3 races he finally gets a shot at you and Cole cocks you then. It's either way, it's retaliation.
I feel, and I agree with that, Paul, but I do feel that they by doing this, they sanitized the sport in a way the sport didn't need sanitized. And those black flags, they better have plenty of them, because I saw as many takeouts last night in a Supercross race than we probably saw at the Arena Cross race in Cincinnati last week or wherever.
So is that
Paul,
a...
Did you have to say cold cocks?
Is that plural? COX? So is that a byproduct of the track design? No,
absolutely. I can't put myself in Trey's helmet or Chad's helmet or anyone's helmet. It was a guy moving through traffic. He spent a lap behind Chad. He probably grew impatient, and he made what was a fundamental mistake. He landed on the guy in front of him because the guy in front of him was riding defensively, and that is his right. But I think that, the problem is you have Chad Reed, no angel, Trey Kennard, no choir boy, but is thought of
a choir boy. But when you gets on the track and his helmet on, he turns non-choir boy.
And I just didn't see what he did as being worthy. I mean, he retaliated, but did he assassinate him? Did he assault him? No, he ran him out of real estate.
I think I think that the referee on the spot. I completely agree that there's you can wait till the end. Then the other side of that coin is someone's going to say, well, what if during the race, if they didn't black flag Chad Reed and then he somehow in some way affected a position or the top whatever going for a race, he gets into another conflict with a guy running for 4th or 5th place, even knowing that the FIM referee says, hey, look, I'm going to black flag the guy. He's getting no points anyhow, so I don't want him any part of the race anymore. He's done. I'm going to wait till the end of the night and black flag him. I don't know. I'm just being devil's advocate on this particular case. I don't know is black flagging the right spot if there's no precedent, but I can tell you this. I have always been a proponent of having a black and white rule book that the referee has in his pocket, and it says these things. When a rider does an intentional takeout, the penalty is this. And if it's black flag, have it written black flag. If it's DQ at the end of the night and loss of all points and a $500 fine for the first incident, then have that. Second incident, and it's 1,005 points. It's whatever, like Paul's talking about. But have something in there that when somebody else does an incident just like this, that there's the same penalty, identical penalty. And if you've known me for any time at all, you know how I get pissed talking about it, because I've been on the other side of this to where 3 or 4 people are penalized with one thing, including disqualification, which I was disqualified, and many people that I'm telling, Magoo and some other guys, and then they turn around and they impose a completely different small fine for a guy that's pocket changed compared to what's at what is on the table for the outcome of this, and they're inconsistent, and I can't stand that part of our sport, the inconsistency of the, basically enforcement of what is perceived as a rule.
I agree with you, but the inconsistency here is a black flag. We're not talking about Jason Lawrence. We're not talking about someone who jumped
but to me, I don't like saying who the guy was or his history or what his reputation was prior to the event. So to me, I just want to know, well, if these guys has multiples and it's third offense, then he's got it in the record. This is his third offense, and this is his fine. Black flagging is the third offense.
The proverbial, that's fine. The yellow card in soccer.
Right, exactly. So
I just think that incident needs to be looked at, and the penalty comes after the race, not during the race. Because I think a black flag is to show that you have some kind of mechanical problem with your bike.
That's the meatball flag. That's different. That's the one, the black flag with an orange stripe through it. But that means you got a mechanical incident.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, it's because you're somehow presenting a danger to somebody else in the race, because your bike in motocross, it's obviously not like this, but if your bike's leaking oil or something like that, where you have something that they need to get you off the track immediately. Right. This wasn't that situation. Chad Reed's not going to go down to the next corner and try to take out another guy. He's not going to go to the next corner and try to take out another guy. The deal was done, and you deal with it after the race. You don't deal with it on the spot, like you said, Davey, in a 20-second decision. It
was a quick and swift decision. Was it the right one, or was there another option that could have been made that later, you looking back, Maybe. But this is the same guy who made this decision that I've never agreed with, when Ryan Villopoto jumped under a yellow flag. He knew Mike Alessi was ahead of him. I asked him after the race, and he told me, I knew Alessi was ahead of me. I wanted to get by him. Alessi rolled, wheels on the ground situation, and he went ahead and did a double single instead of doing a single for a triple jump. He jumped two and then rolled the other one instead of doing the triple. And he knew what he did, and he told me he knew what he did, but he goes, I just wanted to get by Alessi because I knew if I didn't get by Alessi, those other guys were going to be gone. So what happened? Another incident happened. They basically stopped the race, red flagged the race, and they single file lined everybody up on the starting line, as they see some fans have seen them do, and then they turn around, and at that point they moved Villopoto back. I think it was 4 positions in the starting choo-choo train line. And I asked him afterwards, I said, John, what would you have done had there not been the luxury of a red flag where you had a moment to say, okay, what kind of penalty am I going to imply upon Villopoto here? What would you have done after the race? Would you have DQ'd him? Would you give him a 10-second penalty, 15-second penalty? I don't know. What would you have done? A 1-lap penalty? There's so many things that have happened in our sport. Put it in black and white. I mean, that's all I can say, and I agree with what Paul was saying. Put it in black and white. If somebody does an incident like that, put it in the rule book. First offense, this is what you get. Second offense, this is what you get. Maybe the second offense, like you're saying, the yellow card in soccer, then a red card. I mean, maybe there's a special flag that you're the meatball idiot, you've done something stupid on the track, and then if you keep it up, during the race, you get black flag. Or if it's your second incident that's happened during the series that year, it's a red.
And the other thing is they sell that sport on those sort of things. Oh. I mean, if you watch a commercial for it, they don't show guys clean racing. They show each other taking each other out. And the way those tracks are built inside of a stadium, which you have very little choice, there's no corners where you're better than me and you ride around the outside of me. I'm going the same speed as you in tight little corners, and if you want to get past me, then what you do is you run up the inside and you park me, or a little bit more than that is you maybe even make contact with me and you go on your way and I go on my way. The same thing happened with Tyler Bowers and Webb. Yep. And after the race, I thought Bowers was great. He does it to people, and when he got it done to him, he was absolutely fine with it, and that's what they need to do. And if Chad Reed and Kennard have an issue, then you know what? They can deal with it like big boys in the pits after the race.
I was in the corner of the Bowers-Webb situation, and no question about it, Tyler, had he backed off, and he would have been fine. But you know what? He's like, this is for the win. I didn't come here for second place, and he wants to win. So he's like, if there's a chance that I could possibly squeeze between this tough block and Webb, and neither of us can jump the triple, and whatever it is, I'm a pretty big guy. I'm okay with my chances of coming out in a little elbow rubbing, coming out ahead. And he went for it. Hey, the tough block, they're weird. When you hit them, they suck you up and bounce you different directions. They're not they're not even like a hay bale.
And that's Supercross. So, and outdoor motocross, you don't see it happen. Why? There's plenty of space. There's big tracks. They make their passes clean because they can.
I don't know the last time you went to an outdoor national was, Paul, but
I watch them on TV.
They're not that clean.
Well,
I think that in this instance, I think Trey Kennard made a mistake. We know who Trey Kennard is. He's a good guy. He did not intend to take Chad Reed out, but he did. And then Chad Reed made a mistake. He avenged himself immediately, just like any champion with respect is likely to do. It's the third mistake that I have an issue with, because the third mistake truly changed everything.
Right.
And now we have a precedence that was not followed literally 9 laps earlier on the last lap of the 250 race. It didn't happen that way. And Tyler Bowers took it like a man, because Tyler Bowers knows if you live by the sword and you die by the sword, you never have to feel bad. What Chad Reed did could have been easily mitigated had, I don't know, Trey Kennard hit his brakes. What the official did could have been easily mitigated had he hit his brakes.
Right.
And the point is, those 3 wrongs don't make a right. But that last wrong, in my personal opinion, is going to set a dangerous precedence. Because if you're Mike Alessi, You didn't get black flag for taking out Brock Tickle in Atlanta last year. Go all the way back to Kevin Windham drilling David Villeman in 2004 in Phoenix. He got a 10-point penalty, but no one walked out on the track with a black flag and altered the outcome of that race. We just threw a black flag on a former champion and team owner with no priors. He did something in the heat of the moment. Who in their right mind thinks Chad Reed is going to spend the rest of that race knocking people down?
Right.
He got...
Oh, he had one target, and that was it. And it was a retaliation mode.
And he got that, and he admits it. And Trey Kennard admits that he made a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know. What did those guys have to say after the race?
I don't think Trey never... I mean, had Trey mitigated the thing by putting the brakes on, no question about it. But I don't think Trey ever knew he was coming. I'm
sure he knew he was coming because they literally got up together and they rode together to the outside of the track.
Yeah, but do you think Trey expected Chad to do what he did?
I would have expected exactly that. And don't get me wrong. I love Trey Kennard.
Yeah, you would expected Chad, when you both got up after a crash to try to re-enter the race, you would expected Chad to just basically run you out of real estate and run you off the track.
You would have to think that that's a possibility.
Listener questioner?
Oh, on Facebook here or what? Yeah. Okay.
Who writes?
Yeah, that's
who writes the rule book?
Do we have a name on the listener there?
Our friend Scott.
Okay, the other difference. Scott writes the rule book. I've sat on an AMA rules committee before, and I couldn't get them to make an adjustment to a rule that seems so crazy. I have to admit I'm not a big fan of how the whole rule book is put together, or the fact that there isn't enough black and white. And up to not that many years ago, the very last line of the whole rule book was basically that the referee at the event can literally can supersede and overpower every rule in this book if he feels like it. And that's how it was written. So, Davey, you can chime in, because from the MX National side of things and the Outdoor National Group and NPG, and you are well involved in that. So,
as much as anyone would like it to be pure black and white, sometimes beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The rule book was written by...
Not really when you have a situation like this. I only liken it to, and I don't mean to completely... I liken it, the sport I go back to every single time is golf. When you walk around, I don't care who's playing golf, if it's Tiger Woods or anybody, the referee on the event, the PGA rules official or the tour, whoever is sanctioning, has a rule book in his pocket. And it doesn't matter. I'm sorry, Mr. Tiger Woods, but when I opened up this rule book, this is Rule 16-1, this is a violation, and this is the penalty. And it's like the players take it and go, you know what, you're right, and it's not a interpretation of the rule. And I know it's a little bit different in dynamic sports and racing, but we got to take a break, obviously, with the music there. Pay some, and help with our fine sponsors. That's right.
Everyone just take a deep breath. We're going to hug it out at the break here.
After the break, Davey Coombs is going to come back and tell us how AMA rulebook, or the rule books are constructed.
Mm-hmm. We'll take a much-needed timeout, not just to thank the sponsors, but I think you guys just need to go to your separate quarters, separate. We come back and talk to Davey, who was gracious enough to come in studio, and so Davey's not getting away from us.
I like the fact that we have all these guys that have never thrown their leg at a professional race, but Davey's Daytona, I'm sorry. But,
Ninth.
Okay. Okay.
Well, also, as we head to break, another big shout-out from our helpful friends at Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys, as they provide one of their helpful riding hints.
Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys have been representing riders for decades, and here's Chuck Coro from Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys to provide you with a helpful riding hint.
If you sustain damages in an accident, be it personal injury, property damage, or a monetary loss, you should check with a lawyer to see what your options are. Lawyers generally don't charge for an initial consultation. Most people don't know the specifics of the law or what evidence is needed to prove a case. In some instances, even though you don't think you might have a case, the case might turn out much better than expected.
This helpful hint was brought to you by Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys at 1-800-4BIKERS or online at russbrown.com.
Hi, James here from Toyota of Escondido. Guys, if you're hearing this commercial, that means you are into powerful machines that go fast and are durable. Toyota of Escondido has the biggest selection in San Diego of Toyota Tacomas and Toyota Tundras. Whether for work or play, we can customize the truck of your choice into the truck of your dreams. Don't waste time anywhere else. Stop by or give us a call. Toyota of Escondido.
Toyota of Escondido.
Freeway close where Highway 78 meets Broadway, just east of the 15.
Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys are the real deal. Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys. Their entire practice is dedicated to representing motorcyclists. As riders themselves, they understand why you ride, the issues you face, and the motorcycle culture. For over 30 years, Russ Brown and his partner Chuck Coro have been helping injured motorcyclists and their families get the care and compensation they deserve. Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys also created BAM. BAM! A nationwide buddy system of over 2 million riders helping riders in the event of a roadside emergency. BAM offers free legal advice, and thanks to Russ Brown, they have staff on hand to take your call 24/7, 365 days a year. Imagine a real person answering the phone 24/7. Just call 1-800-4BIKERS for more information and to get your BAM card today. If you go down, call Russ Brown. 1-800-4BIKERS and online at russbrown.com.
Here's an idea. Bear with me. You could save quite a bit of money just by switching your motorcycle insurance to Geico. Piles of it, in fact. But there may not be a lot of room on your bike for all that extra cash. So I had somewhat of an idea. You could get one of those nifty little sidecars, pile it up with all that money you just saved, and merrily drive on your way. It's just a thought. Just off the top of my head.
Call Geico today for a free motorcycle rate quote. Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance.
The negotiation begins the minute you walk in the door, Frank.
Jerry, I'm going to Toyota Carlsbad for my new Toyota. I don't have to worry.
Brother, walk in with that attitude, you're dead meat.
Yeah, I don't think that's
First
the
thing when you walk in,
what?
Walk out.
Jerry,
you come back the next day, just walk right in, walk right out.
Look,
come back a week later, look them right in the eye and say,
I'd like to buy a car.
No, walk out.
Jerry, does this explain why you don't own a car?
You made me forget, was I in or out?
You're out.
Walk into big savings today on new Toyotas at Toyota Carlsbad.
Toyota Carlsbad.
This is Bike Week Radio Show with Bobby Wooldridge, Broc Glover, and Paul Carruthers on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Okay, after the bell.
Yep, round two.
Well, we had a great question. Who writes the rule books? And that's what started a little off-air conversation with Davey and myself. Mr. Davey Coombs was polite enough to come down here. And, you know, Davey's motorcycling, off-road motorcycling royalty family, no question about it. His family was heavily involved in the sport of motocross from the beginning, professional AMA motocross promotion with your father Dave and the late father, and you actually promoted a Supercross one time, but I actually had the honor.
We promoted two, and by the way, Brock, I like to remind people of this all the time. Between you and me, it's amazing. We have 6 AMA National Motocross Championships.
and a ninth at Daytona. And
a guy who sat here who's never thrown his leg over a motorcycle in a professional event.
That's right. Exactly.
Brock made that very clear.
Scott Cox.
Motorcycles off of professional racetracks.
I was talking about Scott. I didn't say your name,
If
Paul.
we go back to what we were talking about, all I want to do in saying closing is that I honestly believe if you have an opportunity to make a decision that has an impact on a lot of different people, and you have an opportunity to wait, take your breath, maybe sit down and talk to a few other people about it before making your decision, I believe that's how the decision should be handled. I think that's how you make decisions in your daily life when you have the opportunity to do so. They had the opportunity to go back to the truck, sit and talk about it, and then make a decision. They didn't have to throw a black flag that had an impact on a lot of people's lives at that racetrack at that particular time. And that's all I've got to say about it.
I will personally make a little mission to talk to John Gallagher between now and next show and find out, what his side. I think he did have more than one person standing next to him that maybe he could have bounced it off of for a lap or two, and maybe, but like Davey mentioned, 20 seconds later it happens. One of the conversations that we had, the AMA basically starts with a rule book, right, Davey? And that's how the process happens. And it gets tweaked over the years and some adjustments to it here and there. But the original AMA rule book is kind of just a hybrid of what's been in place for many, many years, correct?
Absolutely. And how long does this radio show last?
we could go for 18 hours, but it's only unfortunately a 60-minute show.
Okay, because I would need about 5 hours to explain to you why there are 2 sanctioning bodies in Supercross.
But it
would take me about 10 seconds to explain why we only need one.
Right.
This is the blowback from the 2001 Jam Sports schism with AMA Pro Racing and the Supercross promoters. We're still living with the baggage of that.
Right.
And we have 2 sanctioning bodies. So who writes the rule book? Well, ultimately the AMA does, with coordination from the series promoter, the OEMs, input from past riders like yourself. Yep. But again, at that moment, you take a moment.
Right.
And it didn't happen.
But we talked about the dynamics. Our sport's dynamic is active as where other sports not necessarily are.
It's really hard, if you hire a wedding photographer and his camera doesn't work, you don't restage the wedding. You continue the wedding. But the responsibility is you
just have really crappy photos.
But you sort it out afterwards. You can't restage a race. If you black flag, whether it's Chad Reed or Trey Kennard or Cooper Webb or Tyler Bowers or Michael Essie or Josh Hansen or anyone else who got into a tiff last night, that's a lot of black flags.
Yep.
And I believe that the primary goal of any referee is to monitor and officiate a race, but never to insert themselves.
But it's no different, and they talk about it in professional. I mean, Bobby sits there all the time with stick and ball sport people. I agree. I don't want the referee at the NFL. I don't want today's games decided primarily by a guy wearing black and white uniform. I don't want the zebras changing the whole out game.
Well, last night you saw that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I'm not saying he should have black flagged him. I just think there needs to be a consistency in the rule book. And one of the things we talked about off the air real quick was that in NASCAR, there are dynamic penalties that happen through the race. There's stop and goes in the pits if a guy makes a mistake or a rule violation coming into the pits or coming out of the pits and, impedes another guy's ability to get to his pit. They do get stop and go penalties, and somehow they apply them fairly swiftly. And I guess if you complain about them, you probably have your team never start another NASCAR race. I don't know. But the whole thing is somehow NASCAR gets away with running a fairly successful series, and we seem to, no matter when a rule's like an infraction gets taken place like this and the referee makes some sort of decision, it always seems to not, I want to say 85% of the time it's kind of probably a knee jerk or not the best decision.
When Ricky Carmichael was disqualified for having leaded fuel,
right?
They let him finish the race,
right?
They let him enter the next race. They worked it out afterwards, and inconsistently.
Yeah, of course, inconsistently.
When David Villeman got knocked off the track, they didn't stop the race and give David Villeman a chance to get back in the race.
Right.
They docked Kevin Windham 10 points.
After the race.
After the race. And that was overturned.
No, hey,
but you can't overturn what happened last night.
Right.
So, Cycle News graduate Jason Wygant, who now helps us out, interviewed John Gallagher after the race. And I'm not beating on John.
Right.
But he said it looked like a racing incident that happened between Chad and Trey made a blatant mistake. It looked like Trey was expecting something to happen differently than what happened when he overjumped the jump. In my opinion, Trey's choice was not a malicious choice.
Right. So that was
his opinion.
Right. And somebody ultimately somebody has to have an opinion and have, as Paul would eloquently say,
allow me
grow a set of balls and make a decision. Gallagher grew a set. He made a decision. Was it the right decision? I don't know. Will he be denarded? Will he be? I don't know. Can I say that on the air? But the point is,
not cold coxed.
Yeah, that's right. So let's move on from the Chad Reed because Davey, to have you in studio is an honor. But go ahead. You want last?
I want to finish this. Trey's choice was not a malicious choice. It was not the correct choice. He ended up crashing. When they got up, Reed's choice was a malicious choice. Trey was trying to straighten out his bars, whatever he was trying to do, way at the top of the turn, and Chad cleaned him out. He bumped him off the track. Trey ran into a tough block and crashed. So again, this is one person's opinion.
Right. If Trey would have gotten hurt, would you have any different opinion? I guess that's my question.
Well, the other thing is,
if Trey would have gotten hurt and been out for the rest of the year, broke his arm, would you have had any different feeling about what Chad did?
What if Chad Reed had gotten hurt in the first place?
I agree. That, to me, as John Gallagher said, it was a racing incident, and I don't think Trey meant for either of them to go down because he took them both.
Of course
out.
he did.
Okay.
Of course he did.
Okay.
And I get all that. What I don't get, I used to race a place called Motordrome Speedway every Friday night growing up. We had more takeouts on that night in AMA District 5.
Insert your fast food joke here.
No,
Okay,
no. Like seriously, that's the way you raced.
Of course.
Tyler Bowers had no problem with what happened with Cooper Webb because that is the road to Supercross. That's what you learn in arena cross. Chad Reed in 175 starts or 210 or whatever it is has never had an incident where he proved himself to be a danger to everyone else on the track. But last night, he took an emotional decision. He did something wrong, but to black flag him is to set a precedence where now that official has to be in the mind of every rider, and he has to think, was that malicious? Because it's now up to him to decide.
Gotcha.
And anytime anyone gets touched from here on out, he better have a lot of black flags. Because to pick that moment out, as blatant as it was, but to me, as, taken out of context as it was, the context was, Chad Reed's race was ruined, so he went ahead and ruined Trey Canard's race. But he didn't get hurt, nor did Chad Reed. They should have kept racing, and then there should have been penalties. But to black flag a guy on live global television, to me, is not the right move.
And again, what Chad Reed did was wrong. I'm not defending him in any way, except if you're a Chad Reed in that position, you don't see what's going on behind you. All you know is you're making a turn and a guy lands on your back. Bottom line, it probably didn't feel good. It ruined his race, and he got up angry and he retaliated.
That's not true. As we all acknowledge, Chad was riding a defensive line. Chad knew that he should pinch towards that inside line to not make sure Trey did. Chad had a little bit of inkling that there was definitely Canard was probably going to try to get him on the inside. What Chad did was take away that option. Chad did what I would have done and many, many racers would have done. Ride a defensive line, as Davey earlier acknowledged. What Trey did was dumb in the fact that, did you not think a veteran with his accomplishments and his pedigree would not know that you're going to come over on that? I mean, of course of course Chad's is going to suspect that you're going on the inside. So he was going to take away that line. Trey was naive into the fact that he thought that opening was going to be there. But, it is the racing thing. So could we start interviewing you?
Yeah, no, I want to say one more thing.
Jesus.
I want to say one more thing.
Welcome to the Bike Week Radio.
Oh, and Mark Comer won the Dakar Rally.
Yeah, Mark. I'm talking about global audience on television. Yeah, the Dakar Rally finished, and Mark Comer won.
In 2008, in the last round of the 250 East region, Trey Canard ran Ryan Villapoto out of real estate into the finish line stanchion.
Do you remember the last race at the year? Was it Stewart that ran out at Las Vegas Supercross, that big sweeping corner? He completely just kept going. Yeah, trying to make sure it was like his only option was to take the guy out to have a championship. So Villapoto wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think that we're talking about two of the biggest stars in the sport, and two of the most respected guys in the sport.
Okay.
And between Trey and Chad, I think they could have figured it out themselves afterwards.
Yeah, and they would have.
And they would.
And they probably did.
No, I actually, by the time I left, which was very late in the evening, Chad was still in the AMA rig with the FIM official and the AMA official asking, what the hell did you just do? Because this is not, there's no precedence. Right. This is not Jason Lawrence. This is not Jason Lawrence throwing his bike at Villapoto at Hangtown. This is not, it's a really odd time to grow a set of black flags.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Well, wow. I was hoping to be able to have you here, discuss all sorts of things in the industry for almost, at least 30, 40 minutes or something. So now we're down to our final break, and then we got to come back after the break and try to
we
jam
did
in.
have a game plan for the record.
Yeah,
we had an idea
Toledo.
of what.
We're fine. We still have time.
I got up early this morning, wrote a list of things I wanted to talk to Davey about, a full page full, and I think we've gotten nothing off the list here. But hey, I'm just proud of this. I'm proud of this.
Nobody talks about wasting time by wasting more time than Brock.
Paul didn't call me an ignorant slut, and I didn't call you one. So
no, but you called me an a-hole.
I did like that the swear jar is growing, so, our pizza party at the end of the year gets to have beer now that the swear jar keeps filling up because of Glover over here. So when we come back, we will finally interview Davey Coombs. I hope. Coming up, Bike Week Radio Show, San Sports Leader, Mighty 1090.
They were chopping them.
Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys are the real deal. Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys. Their entire practice is dedicated to representing motorcyclists. As riders themselves, they understand why you ride, the issues you face, and the motorcycle culture. For over 30 years, Russ Brown and his partner Chuck Coro have been helping injured motorcyclists and their families get the care and compensation they deserve. Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys also created BAM. BAM! A nationwide buddy system of over 2 million riders helping riders in the event of a roadside emergency. BAM offers free legal advice, and thanks to Russ Brown, they have staff on hand to take your call 24/7, 365 days a year. Imagine a real person answering the phone 24/7. Just call 1-800-4BIKERS for more information and to get your BAM card today. If you go down, call Russ Brown. 1-800-4BIKERS and online at russbrown.com.
The negotiation begins the minute you walk in the door, Frank.
Jerry, I'm going to Toyota Carlsbad for my new Toyota. I don't have to worry.
Brother, walk in with that attitude, you're dead meat.
Yeah, I don't think that's
First
the case.
thing when you walk in,
What?
walk out.
Jerry,
you come back the next day, just walk right in, walk right out.
Look,
come back a week later, look them right in the eye and say,
I'd like to buy a car.
No, walk out.
Jerry, does this explain why you don't own a car?
You made me forget, was I in or out?
You're out.
Walk into big savings today on new Toyotas at Toyota Carlsbad.
Toyota Carlsbad.
Here's an idea. Bear with me. You could save quite a bit of money just by switching your motorcycle insurance to Geico. Piles of it, in fact. But there may not be a lot of room on your bike for all that extra cash. So I had somewhat of an idea. You could get one of those nifty little sidecars, pile it up with all that money you just saved, and merrily drive on your way. It's just a thought. Just off the top of my head.
Call Geico today for a free motorcycle rate quote. Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance.
You're listening to Bike Week Radio Show with Bobby Wooldridge, Broc Glover, and Paul Carruthers on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Welcome back, Bike Week Radio Show, San Diego sports leader, Mighty 1090. And if you've missed any of the program, don't worry. Head to iTunes. It is podcasted there. And we have a brand new Mighty 1090. No, sorry. We have a Mighty 1090 smartphone app. Now we have a specific Bike Week Radio Show smartphone app. So head to the App Store. Start downloading that Bike Week Radio Show smartphone app. It's beautiful. I've already got it, and you know what? It's a whole heck of a lot of fun. Best way to interact with the phone.
And Android.
iPhone and Android. Broc Glover's flip phone, I don't know if it comes on that, but
I get text messages.
and faxes.
Yeah.
Well,
and he puts them on MySpace.
Why don't you toss that mic to Scott Cox real quick, because I believe Scott wanted to give a quick update on Dakar as well.
Yeah, and, to Paul's point when he started out, Mark Coma, congratulations to him, 5-time Dakar Rally champion as of yesterday. Shortened stage, the last stage was rained out, so they only raced about 20 miles yesterday. But I watched some of the footage last night, and it was not rideable. But shout out to KTM, another great effort. I think that's 15 consecutive Dakar championships. And, shout out to our friends at HRC Honda. We had the one of the racing directors on the air from Anaheim 2 weeks ago. And Juan Barreda and Paulo Gonzalez, who finished Gonzalez finished runner-up to Coma. But Juan Barreda had a crushing defeat in one of the later stages, and but he'd run away with it several stage wins. And a big shout out to our girl Laia Sands, who finished 9th overall in the Dakar Rally.
And Chad Reed's Australian brother, Toby Price.
Toby Price won a stage. He's a rookie. I'd say he's Rookie of the Year, kind of taking a page from Kurt Caselli's book.
You guys should have a one of those tip jars for every time Paul mentions someone from Australia. Because obviously there's some nepotism going on.
It's endless. Well,
and anytime Brock mentions Trans Am.
And thanks to our sponsor, Vegemite. I don't know what the stuff is, but Paul says keep it going.
Well, in studio, Davey Coombs, RacerX Magazine, and the best way to ensure that Davey comes back again so we can actually interview him is spend the first 50 minutes not actually interviewing him. So I like the fact that this will become a 2-part show. Eventually, we're going to have to...
I got 4 words for you. Anaheim 3.
Exactly. I agree. We'll get Davey to drive down. This time we're going to have to get him a hotel down here so he doesn't get up, so especially if there's an incident.
I volunteered to drive him.
I know. Paul told him to bring him down from Irvine.
If Paul drove me down, I could not spend the whole day driving back taking photos of random hotel signs.
Oh, by the way, I got pulled over by Irvine's Finest last night because I actually I had ordered some food to go and pulled over to the side of the road I just pulled over to the side of the road because I didn't think the gal had given me utensils, and so I just pulled over to the side and just to check the bag to make sure, and all of a sudden here comes all these lights behind me like, what are you doing? And he didn't have his red light on or anything. He just had a white.
Was that utensil you're looking for?
Yeah, it's like
bottle opener.
Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, like, hey, you just don't want me to stop here. I mean, it's like a bus, almost an area a bus pulls in. It's super wide, and plenty of room, not dangerous. So I kept going. Then he red lights me, and I pulls over.
Ooh,
like, what?
Black flag.
Yeah, I got black flagged. I said, hey, what are you black flagging me for? And the bottom line was, we were going to come up and talk to you, and you took off. I'm like, okay, I pulled over to make sure I had utensils in my food to go here sitting on my seat here. Well, we had a call from a woman screaming in the area. We were just checking to make sure, that wasn't you. It's like,
did you stab him in the neck with a plastic knife?
No, I wanted to because
you just let her out of your vehicle?
He was the stereotypical guy that becomes a cop. I mean, I love police enforcement in most ways, but this guy was just, the guy carried the band. Exactly.
And if you're going to be a cop, I suggest being one in Irvine.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to get.
Actually, the ones in Irvine, from the people I've always known, kind of say they can be a little bit prickish, but it's okay. Now I'll probably get pulled over twice. So, getting back to Davey Coombs.
Great story.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, Davey Coombs, give us your state of the industry. What is your feeling of the health of the industry? And the reason I'm bringing this up, I've got some facts and stats here because I work at Dunlop in the tire industry, and these are MIC year-over-year numbers, that shipments were down 9.8% just in the tire category alone. And that's a 10% drop in 1 year is concerning to anybody that loves the sport. So I'm asking your feeling of it. I mean, last night you're talking about the fans and all. To me, the stands were packed last night, right? I was just surprised how many people wore T-shirts that looked like empty seats. I mean, it's just like the place was pretty empty. So, what's your feeling of it, and how can we get the attendance back up, bike sales, activity back up?
Wow.
Yeah. Gee.
In 25 words or less.
I don't think he should have been black flagged.
Exactly.
I think we're on our way back up. We've been through a very difficult time. We've been through a recession. I think that given the tire numbers, I think motorcycle sales are starting to rebound.
If you count scooters. Paul probably has a better feeling on it, right? I mean, Cycle News.
No, I agree. I think we are rebounding, and I think we've seen the worst of it, and everything seems to be.
In dirt bike sales, motocross bikes, you think are rebounding too?
I do think so, but I also think that you saw some empty seats last night because you saw some higher than normal ticket prices, and also as you transition into live television, as we did with the outdoors a few years ago, you realize. That there are going to be less people sometimes, so you have to find the balance between what your ticket price is, how many people will fill the stadium, and at what price. But even though there was a few empty seats last night, there was a whole bunch more people watching on TV. And you have to measure that metric,
right.
And that metric is just as important.
Okay, this brings up another idea I want to ask you. What about, because the East Coast people last night had to stay up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning? What percentage of our people, in the United States live east of the Mississippi River? Probably 70, 75. I mean, literally, the population is almost all on the East Coast.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have a live audience to worry about. And a live audience wants to go to an evening event, and if you move that event to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's on prime time.
No, I'm suggesting 5:30, 6 at the latest. We start the opening ceremonies on a West Coast. When the time change, it's dark. It's dark a little after 5. We could start opening ceremonies around 5.
Well, I live a little further east of the Mississippi, and I watch every Supercross.
Right.
And I know I'm an enthusiast, but one thing, I believe that Feld Motorsports has a very good product. I believe that it works very well at every level. And sometimes you have a thing like some empty seats. That might have to do with the 2 giant vacancies on the starting gate. It might have to do with the fact that Jeremy McGrath retired. It might have to do with the fact
Rick Carmichael.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and again, ticket prices, live TV. There's a lot of that stuff. But what I did see was a very healthy, active paddock. There was lots of people there supporting the sport, and the fact that 10,000 people who bought tickets decided to stay home or got caught in traffic or whatever, I don't think that's a really big problem.
As someone who's started out with my new job at Moto America, we would love to have whatever problems Supercross has right now.
I mean, my suggestion is, first of all, a GA ticket for $40. Too much, okay? I mean, you can go to a monster truck event for half that. They put on events like that. They pay for almost all the trucks to be there. They do all the – I think their costs are higher probably at a monster truck event than they might be at Supercross. But I'd like to see them lower the prices a little bit so people are encouraged to not have to drop $300+ to come in and have a family of 4 watch a Supercross race, or, maybe a family of 5. That's my opinion. I would like to see them be consistent, and take advantage of more people to be able to watch our sport in somewhat of a late primetime slot on the East Coast, because I personally talk to a lot of people who tape it and watch it the next morning because they can't stay up until 1 o'clock.
And how is that different?
No, I'm just saying, because what do you mean, how is it different?
I VCR every race.
Right, but the average fan or the peripheral...
You DVR, and I don't think you
No,
VCR.
I still have a Batum.
I have I fax.
I reel to reel every race.
I have Paul send me the fax results.
Hey,
on my
wait,
fax.
even-
No, how's it different? It is different because when you're skimming through the channels and you're picking up something you want to watch for entertainment, and the peripheral fan... they're maybe not hardcore enough to tape it or to record it, but they might watch part of it and catch some of it and go, hey, this is pretty cool sport.
Yeah, no, I would not change the starting time of West Coast races, but I would revisit those ticket prices.
I barely stayed up until 10 last night. I'm on the West Coast.
No,
And California, by the way, I think is the most populous state in the country.
You want to look at demographics in the United States where the people live, and then we'll talk next week.
All right, we'll do that.
Okay.
Maybe we should have Davey back in. I don't know. I'm just a suggestion, brainstorming. What do you guys think? You guys have fun today?
That's right.
Yeah. Just a little bit of fun?
Did I mention that I work at a magazine called RacerX?
Hey, I've got to give props to our neighborhood with the Del Mar short track last night. For any of you dirt track fans, it was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of guys that I saw at Anaheim 1 who didn't make the drive.
Did they have 2 strokes there? Because I didn't get to bring up 2 strokes.
For me, it was fun because it was 5 minutes from the house, and I got to hang out with guys like Preston Petty, who was out there. How old is Preston now?
I don't know, but so let me get this straight. So we're going to have black flags every lap, 3 strokes, and we're going to have the race at Del Mar.
375 and 375 cc
At 2 in the afternoon.
Works for me. With free Australian beer.
I'm going to VCR that.
Okay.
But, I got to give a shout out to Richard Pollock, who was our guest from Mule Motorcycles, who kicked everybody's ass last night. I mean, the guy is fast as hell in here. I think he raced 4 classes. So, big shout out to you, Richard. I know you're listening.
If you missed any of the show, that last 30 seconds was all inside jokes. If you've heard the entire show, you're probably on the floor laughing, rolling around, because it was hilarious. But if you missed today's program, check out the podcast on iTunes. We'll be back next Sunday right here on San Diego Sports Leader, the Mighty 1090.
You've been listening to Bike Week Radio Show.
Powered by Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.
Join us next week for more Bike Week Radio Show on San Diego's sports leader, the Mighty 1090.